The ballroom gleamed under the soft glow of crystal chandeliers, each facet catching the light like 1,000 tiny stars. Buckingham Palace, usually serene in its historic gravitas, hummed with a quiet tension that night. Guests moved gracefully across polished floors, laughter floating lightly above the clinking of glasses, yet beneath the elegance, something charged the air, an invisible current of intrigue that only those attuned could feel. Prince William, poised and impeccably dressed, surveyed the scene with his usual calm authority. There was an ease in his demeanor, a practiced warmth as he greeted diplomats and charity patrons alike, yet behind his composed smile, he felt the faint prick of awareness, the subtle undercurrent of challenge. He knew Tom Parker BS, Camilla's son, was present, and William's instincts told him that the night would not pass without confrontation. Tom lingered in the shadows near a gilded archway, observing with a calculating eye. Unlike the effortless charm of William, Tom's presence radiated a taut confidence, a swagger refined by ambition and sharpened by cunning. His gaze flitted across the room, landing finally on William with a precise mixture of curiosity and challenge. He murmured a comment about a delicate tart, its French cream a metaphor, he thought, for the hollowness of royal appearances. The words carried a venom only the discerning could detect, and William caught them instantly. He allowed the smile to remain, a shield of serenity, but the irritation sparked quietly behind his eyes. William had long mastered the art of the unshaken front, but he recognized Tom's move for what it was, a calculated strike designed to unsettle and provoke without ever stepping into the open. From a discreet corner, King Charles watched the interplay with the patience of a seasoned strategist. His gaze was steady, assessing, cataloging each gesture, each subtle inflection. Charles had faced countless challenges in his long life, and he understood the rhythms of human ambition. Tom's presence here was not a casual visit. It was the beginning of a gambit, a slow press aimed at destabilizing his son. The king allowed the evening to unfold, letting the gala's polished surface mask the undercurrents beneath. It was a game, and patience was the sharpest edge in his arsenal. Later, the gala's atmosphere shifted as the evening's auctions began. Priceless artifacts glinted under the lights, and William's presence lent gravity to the event. Yet Tom, ever the shadowy provocateur, had positioned his own agents to sow whispers of misconduct. A pocket watch, innocuous in itself, became a vehicle for insinuation when he nudged journalists toward a misleading narrative. Within hours, murmurs twisted into headlines, each one chipping away at the carefully maintained image of William's charity work. The public, always hungry for intrigue, latched onto the half-truths with ravenous enthusiasm, and William felt the subtle turn of admiration toward skepticism. He understood the stakes. This was no ordinary challenge. This was a carefully orchestrated assault on his credibility, leveraging perception as weapon. Despite the mounting pressure, William's response was measured. He convened a briefing, laying out detailed accounts of donations and expenditures. Transparency was his armor, calm his sword. Every question was met with clarity and poise, revealing the depth of his commitment to genuine philanthropy. The press, accustomed to scandal, found themselves confronted with unassailable fact, a narrative of integrity that deflected the insinuations. In that moment, William transformed adversity into testament, his character illuminated against the backdrop of orchestrated attacks. And through it all, Charles remained vigilant, his strategy unfolding in silent precision. He had long observed human nature and understood the peril of reacting too soon. By allowing Tom's moves to play out, Charles amassed insight, cataloging missteps and overextensions, preparing for the decisive moment when the king's hand would land with unassailable authority. Outside the ballroom's glittering walls, a quiet storm of ambition and rivalry churned, and the first threads of a dramatic reckoning were being drawn, each one leading inexorably toward a confrontation that would redefine loyalty, power, and the very fabric of the royal narrative. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Buckingham Palace, casting long streaks of light across the ornate carpets. The city outside buzzed with the usual clamor, but within these walls a tense calm prevailed. Prince William, rising from the night's brief rest, already felt the weight of scrutiny pressing against him. Every headline, every whispered suggestion from the previous gala still lingered like shadows. Yet he carried himself with the same steadfast composure, each movement deliberate, measured, a silent signal that no smear or insinuation could break him. The meticulous ledger of his charities transactions was laid open on his desk, a testament to the work he had done. Each donation accounted for, every detail transparent and unassailable. For William, proof had always been more potent than rhetoric. Meanwhile, Tom Parker BS was already stirring, a restless energy propelling him through the palace corridors and into the heart of his next calculated move. He lingered in private rooms, murmuring to journalists and palace aides alike, hinting at supposed mismanagement and personal gain. His voice carried confidence, seasoned with the faintest tinge of menace, as if daring the world to challenge him. The allure of scandal had always been irresistible to the public, and Tom knew exactly how to shape it, how to frame it so that doubt crept quietly into conversations and casual mentions became viral conjecture. He believed himself untouchable, a puppet master pulling strings from behind the golden curtains, convinced that William's reputation would bend under the weight of orchestrated suspicion. Across the palace, King Charles observed in silent patience. He had read every report, cataloged every action, and let no detail escape his notice. Unlike Tom, he understood the subtlety of timing, the potency of allowing ambition to run its course before intervention. Charles had faced countless trials and his instincts were honed to a razor's edge. He watched William prepare for the day's engagements, noting the steadiness in his son's gait, the clarity in his expression. The prince's poise was more than mere facade. It was the manifestation of years of discipline, and it would be the foundation for the forthcoming confrontation. Charles knew that the true reckoning would not be a public spectacle, but a meticulous orchestration that left no room for deception. The palace's communications began to hum with urgency as the media's frenzy continued to mount. Reports, both subtle and overt, splashed across digital feeds, each designed to unsettle, each crafted to provoke doubt. Yet William remained undeterred, moving with purpose to the site of his next philanthropic endeavor, a newly established cooking academy for underprivileged children. The aroma of fresh bread and spices mingled with the laughter of eager students, a sharp contrast to the cold cynicism of the press. Here, William's focus was singular, his attention wholly devoted to the work and to the children who depended on it. Every interaction was authentic, every gesture deliberate, a silent counter to the manufactured narratives surrounding him. Tom, operating from a distance, had laid the groundwork for another strike. He had bribed staff, manipulated reports, and prepared a subtle disruption to the day's events. The plan was simple in concept but precise in execution. Plant an incident that could be exaggerated, magnified, and broadcast as proof of negligence. He watched with satisfaction as his pawns moved into position, confident that this small disruption would cascade into a scandal. Yet he underestimated the resilience and foresight of both father and son. William anticipated the possibility of sabotage, and Charles had accounted for the calculated audacity of his stepson's actions. The palace itself, a living labyrinth of both history and strategy, had become the stage for a confrontation defined not by chaos but by orchestration. As the first signs of the minor disruption surfaced, a mishap in the kitchen, a startled child, a reporter ready with camera, William's response was swift and measured. Calmly, he addressed the issue, guided the staff, reassured the children, and restored order without a single word aimed at blame. The authenticity of his actions resonated louder than any accusation could. Cameras recorded him at work, but the images told a different story from Tom's whispered narratives. They revealed patience, leadership, and a genuine commitment to those who depended on him. Outside, the world watched, and inside, Charles noted every angle, every outcome, his strategy quietly tightening the net around the schemer who believed he had the upper hand. The palace's corridors were unusually still as evening approached, the usual bustle muted by the weight of anticipation. Prince William moved with quiet authority, each step purposeful, his presence commanding without a hint of pretense. The day's earlier disruption had been deftly managed, leaving observers in awe of his composed leadership. His eyes, sharp yet compassionate, reflected the depth of his experience, the ability to navigate not just protocol and pomp, but the undercurrents of human ambition and deceit. Tonight, the final act of the unfolding drama would take shape, and every participant, from the highest-ranking officials to the most ambitious courtiers, knew the stakes were unprecedented. Tom Parker, BS, lingered in the gilded hall, his confidence still intact but fraying at the edges. He had spent months plotting, weaving intricate webs of manipulation, feeding whispers into eager ears, and now he faced the palpable tension that had taken root around him. His gaze darted toward William repeatedly, searching for any sign of faltering, any hint that the prince's carefully curated public image could be punctured. Yet each glance returned the same image: calm, resolute, unshakable. Tom's smirk, once a symbol of impending victory, now felt tenuous, hanging by the fragile thread of his own overconfidence. Every bribe, every shadowed conversation, every subtle maneuver had led to this precise moment, yet the anticipated collapse of William's credibility never materialized. King Charles entered the hall with measured steps, his presence alone imposing an almost tangible gravity. He carried himself with the quiet authority of someone who had long observed the patterns of ambition and deceit, who had faced crises, both public and private, with a keenly honed sense of timing. His eyes swept over Tom with unflinching clarity, noting the subtle tremor in the younger man's composure, the way his carefully constructed bravado began to crack under scrutiny. Charles did not raise his voice, did not gesture dramatically. The authority in his stance, the unwavering confidence in his gaze was enough to signal the impending reckoning. Every detail of Tom's maneuvering had been cataloged, every transgression noted, every overreach anticipated. The king had set the stage not with force, but with the precise patience of a master strategist. A hush settled over the assembly as Charles began to speak. His words were deliberate, each one carrying the weight of measured judgment. He addressed the room not merely as a monarch, but as a father and guardian of a legacy threatened by reckless ambition. The ledger of William's charities was displayed with painstaking clarity, every transaction accounted for, every contribution verified. The evidence was irrefutable, a tangible counter to the smears and insinuations Tom had orchestrated. Then came the dossier exposing Tom's clandestine dealings, bribes, manipulation of staff, deliberate planting of misleading narratives, all laid bare with unassailable proof. Silence gripped the hall as the magnitude of the revelations sank in. Finally, Charles revealed the truth about Diana's letter, the symbol around which Tom had built his most audacious claims. The words read aloud were simple yet profound, a mother's token of love entrusted solely to her son. Charles's voice carried both authority and quiet reverence, affirming that William had safeguarded his mother's memory with integrity and devotion. The contrast was stark, the schemer's ambition versus the prince's steadfast honor. Tom Parker, BS, once the confident orchestrator of scandal, stood exposed, a figure of vanity undone by his own recklessness. Applause broke the silence, rising with an almost palpable force as the audience recognized the triumph not merely of law or protocol, but of character and integrity. William's composure remained intact, yet a subtle relief softened his features. Justice had not required vindictiveness, only truth. Tom slipped from the room, his head bowed, the weight of disgrace settling upon him like a tangible shroud. His schemes had unraveled, leaving him isolated, stripped of the respect and influence he had sought to claim. The palace, now echoing with the affirmation of loyalty, honor, and measured power, had restored the balance disrupted by ambition, untempered by conscience. In the quiet aftermath, William stood alongside his father, the unspoken bond of trust and mutual understanding radiating between them. The monarchy's image had been defended not by spectacle or confrontation, but through calm resilience, meticulous transparency, and strategic patience. Outside, the city's pulse continued, oblivious to the private reckoning within the palace walls. Yet within Buckingham, the lessons were indelibly etched. Ambition unchecked could falter, but integrity, tempered by wisdom, would always endure. The chessboard had been cleared, each piece returned to its rightful place, and the kingdom, for now, could breathe easier, secure in the knowledge that truth had prevailed.